Hi everyone, Lisa Haven here, and I've got an interesting report that you're going to want to hear. Over the past couple of months or so, specifically even more this week, football players from multiple teams have decided to take a knee in stark rebellion to the national anthem, saying they don't want to sing it because it is a racist song. And that has been their stance. Now, Donald Trump even responded to these NFL players, and he said the following. I'm going to throw up his tweet on the screen, but this is what he said. He said, if NFL fans refuse to go to games until players stop disrespecting our flag and country, you will see change take place first. Fire or suspend them. He goes on, NFL attendance and ratings are way down. Boring games, yes, but many stay away because they love our country. League should back the United States of America. And I have to say, I wholeheartedly agree with him. It's just upsetting that they want to tear apart our culture, our heritage, and all of that by refusing to take a knee and sing a patriot song to America. Now, in that, I agree because it is part of our history. Let's ask the question, why is it that these people think that the Star-Spangled Banner is racist? What is the actual racist comment or slur to the Star-Spangled Banner that they are referencing? And that's what I want to address right now. Okay. So why was the national anthem written? Well, for starters, Francis Scott Key is the author of the national anthem. He was a prisoner on a British ship at the time that he had written the national anthem. But the reason that most people take issue with it is because of the background of it. And that's kind of what I'm going to share now. So Francis Key was an aristocrat and a city prosecutor in Washington, D.C. He was like most people of his time, not against slavery. He just thought that since blacks were mentally inferior, masters should treat them with more Christian kindness. Keep in mind, that was the mentality of the time, not my view. That was the mentality. But he also supported sending free blacks, not the slaves, but the free ones, back to Africa. But he also was pro-slavery, anti-black, anti-abolitionist as well. Those were his political views at the time, which were widely held by those at that time. Moving down a little bit, in August 1815, the Battle of Bladensburg, where Key, who was serving as a lieutenant at the time, ran into a battalion of colonial Marines. Now, who were they? Well, the British offered any slave there. They said, okay, if slaves want to fight for the British Army there, then anybody who chooses to fight for the Army, you're an American slave, right? And if you fight for us, we'll give you freedom. So that's what the colonial Marines were, is black slaves who fought for the British Royal Army in exchange for their freedom. So they kind of switched sides and said, yeah, I mean, if I had been a slave at that time, then I would have joined and fought for my freedom as well. Anybody would. And so some of the people on, American side saw that as a stark rebellion of the slaves. But that's kind of the history of what's going on as of now. But it was during that battle, the Battle of Bladensburg, where Key, who was lieutenant, got basically trampled on, massacred by the slaves and the British people at that time. And he also saw some of those slaves attack the city who were fighting for the British, and saw the Library of Congress burn, same with the Capitol, the White House, and those kinds of things. So he developed negative feelings. Moving on a little bit, a few weeks later, Key begged for the release of his friend William Bean, who was aboard the British ship at the time, where he was. When he boarded that ship to ask for his friend's freedom, they granted it, but they made him stay there and watch as they bombed Fort McHenry there in Baltimore, where the Americans were at. And so he was forced to watch the battle of what was going on. Well, it was a very bloody battle, and when the fog cleared, there's the American flag still standing. So that was a sign that the Americans had won the war. As a result, it inspired him to write the Star-Spangled Banner. So again, what's the fuss now? Well, there is more verses than what is normally sung. Normally we just stick with the first couple of verses, but there's another verse, the third verse specifically, that people take issue with because it has negative connotations, according to them, that are racist in their opinion. So remember, he had a lot of harbored bad negative feelings against the colonial Marines there, the black people that were fighting with the British. And so this is what he wrote in the third verse, and you can Google this as well, but it says, "And where is that band who so valiantly swore that the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country should leave us no more?" And this is the verses next. "Their blood has washed out of their foul footsteps pollution." Talking about the blood of the British washed by the blood of the slaves. "No refuge could save their hireling or enslave." So the slaves couldn't be saved by the British. That idea, "From the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave, and the star-spangled banner in triumph do wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave." This is why we often leave out that third verse. But in other words, what they say Key was saying is that the blood battle of former slaves and hirelings on the battlefield will wash away the pollutants of the British invaders. British recruited slaves on their side again, and so it was kind of, look, the slaves didn't help you, British, and here they are now washing away your blood. That's kind of the idea about that. So people claim that this is a diss track to black people who had the audacity to fight for our freedom. Okay, so that's it in a nutshell. Hopefully it came through kind of clear. But here's how I see it. First of all, you don't ever hear that third verse, probably for that reason. So we focus on the first two verses. Second of all, it is a history piece. We were fighting against the British, and they had gone against and fought with the British against the American, which, like I said, if I was a slave at that time, I would have done the same, because they deserve freedom and they are free today. But it is a part of our history. It is a part of our culture. And that's why I stand with Donald Trump on this. And, here's the thing, if we're going to put it that way, why not call this racism against the British, right? Why not say the British were mistreated, and, why not paint the British who we were at war with as the enemy? I mean, it's gone into Looney Tuneville, in my opinion. And if there's a compromise, take out the third section if that's it. But don't make it as a like a stance against America. And many of them are trying to say in the NFL that they're not standing against America. Well, it is a little bit, because you're saying I don't agree with some of the history. It's just history. It's history. It's what happened. It's not a racist thing. I love every race, creed, color, religion. I am not a prejudiced person. Never have been. I have friends of every race, creed, color, and so do many of you out there. So they're really blowing something out of proportion, in my opinion, and expanding it bigger and bigger and bigger until our history is erased. And it's like George Orwell's 1984, which is what comes to mind. Let's erase history so they have nothing to do with the do. And where does it stop? It's not going to stop at the national anthem. They're already pulling down Robert E. Lee statues. They're going after Washington just because he was a slave owner. It's loony bin. That's our history. It's an unfortunate history. I wish a lot of it didn't happen that way. I wish we never had slaves. Slaves, however, have been a part of time since biblical times. And when we go back to Egypt, the Israelites were slaves. Different people of different colors have been slaves throughout time. We go back to Chinese and Japanese and internment camps that we had during world wars here in America. Why don't we go and tear down all the concentration camps in Germany because it represents torture against a Jew? Let's just rip it down, right? That's the idea. And it's like, look, there's negative things that happen in history and positive things that happen in history. we need to understand that as a culture going forward, as who we are. And we can't say, let's ignore that part of history because it's negative. No, we need to take it, learn from it, and move past it. And that's just my heart on that. Maybe some of you disagree, and that's okay. I don't expect everyone to always agree with everything. But if I'm going to tell you everything about the national anthem and what it is about, I'm going to tell you the full story, because that's who I am as a reporter. But I still stand, and it is a patriotic song, and right now it represents our great land, and it represents, from the song, the flag that still stood at Fort McHenry, who beat the British that day, who were able to stand up. And remember, if you were in Key's position, Francis Key, and you were standing on that boat staring at that flag, and you think, wow, that's my country living in the moment. And so you have to remember, it was during war. War is never pretty. It had to do with war. That is what's at the root, not this racism and racist thing. It was simply war and a battle that was fought in America. So please share this far and wide. And I'd love to hear your comments below. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? But like I said, it's upsetting to see all these NFL players take a knee when we're singing a patriotic song about the love of America. And we're not even into the third verse. I mean, come on. And then others who stand in solidarity on the ball fields, locking arm in arm in arm in order to go through with that. So just something to think about. But I love the heck out of my country, and I stand with Donald Trump on that one. Anyhow, wanted to bring you the latest on all of that. Please don't forget to check out my partner at getthetea.com. He has other amazing products. The Alley C during flu season and flu time, that will always keeps you really good and healthy, good to take for trips and travel. Also the detox tea, some of my favorite things in the colostrum if you have stomach issues. But he's got tons of supplements. If you're going to buy them anyway, check him out at getthetea.com and let him know you heard it on Lisa Haven. Anyhow, thanks again for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.